Good morning. Welcome to Forex.Today. Let me remind you that trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, and never risk money you cannot afford to lose. Ni hao ma. Hello, my name is Wayne McDonald. I am the Chief FX Market Strategist for TradersWay.com. Thank you very much for being a client. If you are new to these webinars, I conduct technical and fundamental analysis. We can discuss trader psychology, and most importantly, I can answer your questions, so please get involved. And then, if you find that you are benefiting from these webinars, please visit TradersWay.com, open a trading account, and when you're a consistent and confident trader, feel free to trade real money and grow your successful business using Traders Way as your prime broker. Cool, right? Fast execution speed, yup. Competitive spreads, yup. Nice yields, yup. All that kind of stuff. So anyways, let me know how I can help. I want you to succeed. Good, lots of people checking in. Lots of good questions already. I got to make the font a little big. Hang on. Yeah, okay. Mr. Highvolt, sure. I mean, it's always been interesting. So anyways, let's go through the dollar pairs and yen pairs, huh? All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Well, the part I need to mark up here is if you were a bull, this was your entry. If you were a bear, this was your entry. So bears are getting knocked out, okay, and bulls are surviving. It's not great though, but it's something. Okay, it's something. That's how I look at this. Yeah, well, Chuck Duck, remember, Chuck Duck says good Australian trade balance data, no rate cuts as expected, and no surprising, no easing in the bias. Well, what do we know? The U.S. had a heart attack in about October of last year because of the Fed jacking up interest rates, right? And that continued all the way through the year. And then China started showing bad signs, right? Well, what's changed is the Fed's now neutral. Low rates for longer, and that should be good for China. Right? Which is good for Australia. So it's really, it's funny because in the beginning when you don't know fundamental analysis, you rely on news. And I've said it 1,000 times, and 1,001 times wouldn't be too much. News is not fundamentals. I just noticed what you're looking at. There's funny logo there. For some reason, I can't move it. Oh, I know why. I could go to... yeah, we'll leave it there. I don't know why the logo's messed up. But anyways, that is something we have talked in the past as well, is when you look at the fundamentals of it, there's such a difference between fundamentals and news. Very often news is opinion, and that's not what we need, right? What's up, Hoodoo? Right? Very often news is wrong. Fundamentals are correct. So anyways, actually go to the website and download the reports, okay? You're the one that's supposed to be the expert, not the Wall Street Journal. They get paid to write articles. All right. Oops. Seems to be something going on here. Unfortunately, we got something like this. It almost bottomed out. There's a big zone here. This is interesting for bulls. What happens next is going to be interesting for bears. And not the world's greatest trend, huh? Yeah? You guys don't like the chat on the chart? I just noticed I forgot to hook the one up underneath the webcam, that's all. It's been there before. I haven't used it in a while, though. It's not a new scene. Okay. So some people prefer this. That's good. So anyways, as far as trading, we're hoping for up, 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 up. Or down, 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 up, up. Down, 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 up, up, right? So it's like this isn't necessarily the pattern we're hoping for, right? So we're kind of stuck here. Target for the week is just down here. And if you're going to go there, you might as well go for the monthly, right? And you'll see there was a monthly entry. Right? You see that, right? Like someone did their job and they're targeting this. And then the sell zone this week is here targeting this. So there's probably going to be a little confluence there, right? So what are you thinking? It was down before this, down before this. You think it's going to do that? Oh, we'll find out. Could be forming them. Yeah, well, the way I look at it, the way I teach myself is that all we have is this right now. Because this didn't make a lower low, we're range bound. Okay. So when it was trending, I sold here because we were here. That makes sense, right? Doesn't make it a good trade, it just makes sense. Gold! Okay, in very similar fashion, if you don't get the lower low, you got a bottom. Okay, you see that? So once again, the way I looked at this is, oops, that was supposed to be red. Come on, there we go. Right? We should be lower low by now, right? So if we're not making lower lows, we're heading sideways. And wait for the break. Well, not much happening on a 4-hour, but you know, there is a double bottom here that was very viable. And we're at a top, it's very sellable. I mean, there's stuff going on. It's resistance because pivots are a trend, right? You wouldn't use Fibonacci, you wouldn't use pivot points. I mean, pivot points are support and resistance, but the targets are gone, right? So at this point, you're just looking for a confluence of support. So let's say this and this make support. There's a pivot that makes support. Is there a psych level in there somewhere that might make support? Whatever. Okay. This makes resistance. Oops. This makes resistance. This pivot makes resistance. Oh, come on, red. This makes resistance. The M3 makes resistance. There's psych level in there, 128.50 maybe, I don't know. But that's all. And of course, you just take the aggregate of them all and just say, this looks more like a bottom, this looks more like a top, and now we're in a range. Okay? So I tend to make my decisions fairly binary in the sense that you're either trending or you're not trending. Okay, you see that? And therefore, I can just make snap decisions. All right, we're range bound. I'm not trending. I'm not using Fibonacci. I doubt we're going to hit aggressive targets. I'm going to use support and resistance now as my targets. I'm going to be more short term than long term. Right? That kind of stuff. The moving averages are dead. Okay, if there's no market, I don't need, right? Is it a bullish market? No. Is it a bearish market? No. So now you don't need 2155 because that just measures the market. Okay, don't need that. I do need 5.8 though, right? So you guys over the last 12 years have probably bought my book. Cool. Okay, then you know that's a buy, that's a sell, this is a buy, and this is probably getting ready for a sell. And we're just in that mode now. Okay. And of course, even more important than the 5A cross is the fact that you're at resistance or you're at support. That's the most important thing. The 5A cross after is the easy part. Okay. Now, of course, the trick here is like the 5A cross on a 4-hour takes a day. Why don't you drop into a 1-hour or a 15-minute and cut the corner? And by cutting the corner, what I mean is you've already decided that you want to sell in here based on a 4-hour 5A cross. But you're just a little bit hungrier than that. So you already know that. That's called strategy. And you look for a tactical entry on this time frame. Or stochastic, sure. Can I go over the 5A cross? I'll do something better for you, my friend.
U.S. markets is driving some investors to foreign currency. Joining us again from Atlanta with some tips on trading in foreign money is Wayne McDonald. He's chief currency.
To the downside, the 21 is below the 55. Technically speaking, the market is down. Fantastic.
All right, let's start there. There's a whole playlist of 4 videos called How to Time Your Trades. So the link for that is here, and you can. It's about 45 minutes to an hour to watch all 4. Yeah, it could just be the microphone though too. I saw Dionne Warwick at a concert not long ago, and she's like 900 years old, and she mostly sounds the same. She can't hit the high notes. Mostly, she probably doesn't have the heart or stomach left, but she probably does have the voice. Cool. Okay. Let's look at one of my favorites, oil. You know, I think if I were to retire, I would still trade oil because I could go to Vienna like 5 or 6 times a year and write it off in my taxes as a business expense. What are you doing in Vienna? OPEC meeting. I have to be in Vienna. It's a business expense. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, the first thing, look at where we've been. And I always like to look left here. What's here? What's here? What's here? Just keeping my eyes open. Where are we going? Okay. think we can call this bearish, right? Okay, I'm doing this to remind you something. Down, 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 up, up, sell. Down, 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 up, sell. Right? So we should be on our way here if it remains bearish. Okay, that's it. But you got to mark your support and resistance lines. You got to know this stuff. Okay, price action. You got to complete the price action course. Yeah, I've had all those, Kevin. I'm too old to care anymore. All right. Boop, 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 boop. What do you think about this trend? Not a lot to chew on, huh? If I had to, I think I'd trap this in an S1, R1 inside month. Okay. So the trend in this case is sideways. And then you would probably want to connect this stuff here. And this is pretty much already done. Yeah, I'll just leave that. Just doesn't look like easy money, does it? No, you're right, Kev. What should we do with this? Well, that's definitely a bearish setup. Okay. This is the price bulls want, by the way. We don't have it now, but let's see where the bears are taking us. Where are the bears aiming? So bears are aiming down there. Okay. We know it's not going to be a straight shot. So it's probably going to be like that. Well, you can't have a double bottom in a range. So you can't call it a double bottom. Double bottom's a reversal pattern, but if you don't have a trend, there's nothing to reverse. Okay, so like this is not a double top. Double top looks like this. right? Which means you're selling this. You're either short here or you're short here. This is just range. It's just resistance. Well, how can you reverse something if it's not going anywhere? I'm gonna blow your mind. Well, right. Chuck says, well, reverse a range, maybe a breakout. No, well, a breakout is the birth of a trend. It's not a reversal of a range, right? Yeah, but 398 billion yen is not a lot of money, though, Asba. But it's definitely an interesting topic. Faux show. So anyways, just looking at this was the weekly sell in here. You can see you had it Friday front run, Monday morning. Exits here. We've already achieved that. In fact, a gap down. Oh, is it? Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, Isabu. Okay, we did beast already, didn't we? CAD yen. So, one of the topics we talked about on Sunday with the swing trading group was how to trade a gap. Talked about nature abhorring a vacuum and continuing mission. And what is it, only Tuesday now? Seems like Wednesday or Thursday, but I guess it's Tuesday. So we're working our way into that. Seems like it, right? This one didn't even fill. This shows you how weak it is. Same chart. Basically, right? Didn't fill. Yeah, well, very bearish. Even this should produce a counter trend. Even that hasn't happened. Shows you the power of trading with a trend, right? If you get the trend right, everything else is easy. If you get the trend wrong, you get knocked out. Capiche? For example, this is fairly bullish, but it's bullish in a downtrend, so it might just be foolish. In reverse, right? As a bear, we know this is a role reversal, and we know this is your second chance. So selling here is actually easy if you're a bear. So if you got the bear thing down, that was, I mean, how could it get any easier, right? And then you repeat it again on the weekly. As a bear, this is the zone in which you want to sell. Nice. Cool. So if you're a bear, it's working great. Fantastic. If you're a bull, it's a tough gig. So if I were me, I would mark my charts. I love to leave myself little messages. Okay. How would you feel if we were here next week? If you're a bear, you would sell it. If we were there next week and it did this, then you'd buy it. Actually, you'd probably need your double bottom. Huh? Hey? You got to reverse the downtrend, but you can't reverse a no trend. One of the things we talked about in the swing trading group on Sunday was if you can't see it on Thursday, you can't trade it on Monday. If you show up Monday looking for a trade, you've already lost your money. You've already lost if you show up on Monday looking for a strategy. So like, I'll give you an example. Let's just go back 1 week. Here we are on a Thursday, right in here. Should you keep selling? Look at the week before it. That's a sell. Now you're way down here. Should you keep selling? No, you should take profit. All right, so that's on a Thursday. So what should you be doing on Monday or Tuesday? Well, you'd want to sell, right? You'd already know that this is likely where the weekly M3 is. And you'd also know where the new central pivot would be. So you would say on Thursday, hey man, I got a plan. I think I'm going to sell right around here somewhere. Okay, that's called trade planning. So you should know that on Thursday, that on Monday or Tuesday, that's where you're going to sell. You know the price, you know the reason. No, if you don't have a bias, you're a scalper. And I think the dangerous part of that is if you're a scalper, but you are not scalping, then I'm not sure what you're doing. I think it's going to be very difficult. Okay, there's no reason to not have a bias. As long as you trade without a bias, you're an amateur. I think even if you had $1 billion in your account, you'd still be an amateur. Because you wouldn't be able to sit down and explain to someone what you're going to do with their money. Like trading other people's money makes you a pro, especially profitably, right? But if you can't tell them what you're going to do with their money, I mean, what are you going to put in your disclosure document? I mean, what do you actually write? I have no strategy, so every day I'm going to just guess with your money. I mean, it just doesn't even make sense, right? you're going to have a strategy. And actually, beyond a strategy, you need some serious rules of engagement for like risk management and stuff. And all these things have to be disclosed in your disclosure document. How many people are, let's say, within 1 year of being at that level where you're going to prepare to trade other people's money, you're going to incorporate a company, you want to know what it's like and how to prepare to be regulated and audited, you want to go over disclosure documents, trading contracts, negotiating with brokers and money manager agreements with the brokers, you want to know writing business plans, you want to write marketing material, you want to develop elevator pitches, presentation decks, do on full investor presentations. How many people are like within a year of wanting to devour that? Nobody? Too far out? This is called MT4, baby doll. Really? So nobody's there? Joe's me? RC's there? Really? Right on, Raymond. Yeah, K-Star doesn't want to get there. Yeah. You'll grow your assets under management more slowly, but that's cool. So you guys are out there. So like, I'm not out there looking for training and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. But is there a group that offers all of that? Like sits down and goes through your disclosure document and how to discuss it with a client? Stand up with a PowerPoint presentation and a wireless mouse and do your pitch deck? Are people doing that? I mean, I was a venture capitalist. That's why I know how to do it. I've raised millions of dollars, and I've invested 100 times. So I'm definitely experienced at that. Well, baby dolls, I charge what a normal rate would be. The problem is most people don't have millions of dollars, baby doll. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't think like, I think like a 1 week, locking ourselves into a hotel for a week and then having, maybe record it so that you can go back and watch again, I think is the way to do something like that. So baby doll, yeah, if you got, let's say 10 million US dollars or more, we would have to talk about it. But the other thing is, there's way more to it, baby doll, than money. I turn away money all the time, and I get people that come up and say, I want you to make 100% a month. Sorry, I'm not the guy you're looking for. Or they say, I can get you the money, but it's going to go through 9 different banks before it gets to your bank account. Sorry, I'm not interested. This has actually happened to me too. $20 million in cash. And I'm like, what do you mean, like cut a check? No, like bags of cash. I'm like, $20 million? I don't even have a truck that big enough. I'd have to get like 3 trucks. Like, what the hell am I going to do with that? No. Anyway, so there's the most important thing, guys, and I don't know, you need to write this down because you are your own customer, right? And I keep telling you, money's not the problem and money's not the solution or whatever. The most important thing that you have is an educated, well-informed investor. And that's why I tell you to sit down and talk about your losses with them and highlight them. Go through the disclosure document and actually go over the risks. Because people don't do that. They're like, here's my D-Doc, let's get to my slide deck. I'm the most important person in the world. I'm the biggest trader in the world. We're going to make millions and millions and millions of dollars so quickly and easily, right? And that's all BS, right? So the losers focus on, the fireworks, and they skip over like the nitty-gritty details of the day in and day out. And of course, I want you to do the opposite, right? So getting money is not a problem, but it comes with, it's sort of like a thorn, beautiful roses, but covered in thorns and ants and little gnats or whatever, So you want an educated client, okay? You need an educated client that really truly understands, that has the same vision, that's going to be thick and thin, that's not going to call you at 3 a.m. freaking out because Trump said a tweet. Okay? You see what I mean? Right? You want good clients. I think you should have 5 good clients and not 50 bad clients. And you'd be surprised. You don't understand what I'm talking about now. One day you will. You're going to have an aha moment. And you're going to think back and you're like, oh. Right? So anyways. So that was only like 5 of you guys are even interested in talking about investor presentations, disclosure documents, marketing documents, going on road shows, all that kind of stuff. You're way far away from incorporation, accounting, compliance, years and years of work. All right. So I'll put that off. I think that'd be a pretty kick-butt week, though. I'd actually be pretty thrilled to do that. I've always been an entrepreneur, so I love stuff like, I've been doing that kind of stuff for absolutely forever. Okay, we did that. I used to have like psychologists come in and help my entrepreneurs. And speech coaches. We had speech coaches come in. Like, I think I had 3 speech coaches working with my entrepreneurs. This is back in the like 1997. Do you remember? I think I showed you. I was in the Hot Startups issue of Inc. magazine, and that was working with. That was at Guy Kawasaki's event. I live in the United States, baby doll. All right. So yeah, I think we did all of this stuff, right? We did this, we did this, we did this. Did we do Aussie? Yeah, we did Aussie. Did we do Kiwi dollar? All right, so let's do this. Why don't I just open myself to pairs that you want to cover? Yeah, Kevin, I'm very open to that. You're good people. Peso? Yeah, I got caught on the peso earlier. Last week or this week? Last week? I did a front run. Is it still alive? No, I didn't think so. What did I do? I sold it here, I think. Can't remember. I sold it here or here. I was in a few days early, which I always tell you never to do. Well, now you know why I tell you never to do it. Doesn't mean I don't do it. It means I tell myself, dang it, I should never do it. But the proper trade would have been here, or you know what? Maybe I shorted right there. That seems more likely. That's too far out. I think I shorted here, and then this drew me out. I must have had a stop just above that. Maybe the spread got me. I don't know. Or maybe I jammed it. I know it was profitable. I must have jammed it then when I was profitable, which I suppose is the right thing to do. But this is sort of the better entry and takes more patience. I don't want to look at Lira. There's so much going on there that's outside the normal realm of trading, guys. So Erdogan is canceling the elections, and they're doing a second election, and because Erdogan's group didn't do well, and it's so bullshit that the rest of the world is now laughing at Turkey. And it really bums me out because, first, I have a lot of Turkish friends. Second, I've always wanted to go to Turkey. And then third, there was so much progress. Like when you're stuck in the middle, they're trying to find their ideology and where they want to fit in the world, right? Should they be Western or should they be Eastern, right? Kind of like this. And this going on for 3,000 years. So it's not a new story, but there was sort of leaning more to the Western world over the 90s, and there was talk about putting Turkey in the EU and all this kind of stuff, and lots of reforms. And now it's a bit of a laughingstock, and it hurts me to say that because of all the other reasons. I'm fascinated by the place. I'm fascinated by the history. I'm fascinated by the food, the culture, the people. I even have relatives that died on Turkish soil. It's a place I want to visit and be. So I don't want it to be a laughingstock, but that's where it is now. So I don't want to even talk about the lira anymore. You can trade it, but be careful. It's like trading Bitcoin, where it'll move 10% in a day. Okay. Viva Kurdistan! Hey, Fizzle. Yeah, stuck in a rut. Well, like I said, one of the major problems that Turkey's having now, besides politics, is that they just don't have any foreign reserves. Well, why does it not have any foreign reserves? So, that's not a problem, that's a symptom. So what's the problem then? They're not exporting. Well, how can you have a beautiful country with so many people and so much beautiful natural resources and, quite frankly, cheap labor? At the very least, you can make widgets and gadgets, right? That a German would rather not make. I mean, it's just out of the fact of the currency difference, right? So, sort of like if you go out through like throughout Asia, after World War II, Japan made cheap junk. And then it got investment, and then the stuff they started making got better and better and better, and suddenly Japan got too expensive. We needed a new place to make cheap junk. So, right, we had the Korean War, and suddenly the South Koreans started making cheap junk, and Japan made expensive stuff. But then it got better and better and better and better, and pretty soon Korean stuff is fantastic, right? So Japan has Sony and Toyota, and South Korea now has Samsung and LG. So where are we going to get our cheap junk made? Oh, well, so let's move over to China. China starts making cheap junk for the world. But you see, the reason it's all happening is because wages were so low. And this is just economics. There's math for it and charts, and there's ways to figure it out. And you can prove that it's better to specialize and try to make everything for yourself, right? Right? So then China started making cheap junk, and we know it's now been 20 years now. Stuff in China is actually fantastic. All the high-tech stuff I bought, like I have a laser projector for my movie theater. I couldn't even buy it in the United States even if I wanted. I had to buy it from China, ship it here, and then have to find a way to install English because there wasn't even English on this machine. Even in the, well, whatever. So anyway, so now, right? Now China makes expensive stuff. And there's always this pattern of the world is trying to find cheaper labor because it lowers inflation. It's one reason why global inflation is so low. So like just the fact that Turkey has a large young labor force that will work for cheap means it should be exporting. Yes, and then Taiwan and yeah. Right, there's lots of examples, good examples, by the way. I can go after example of capitalism working. There's no examples of socialism working, not one. But anyways, those are other great examples. Thank you, guys. But what I'm saying is, if you take the ingredients of a large young labor force, right, and low labor costs, low cost of capital. Well, there's actually very little capital, so that means you need to invest into that capital. But then you need labor, which is just another form of capital, and then you need to add alpha to the labor, which means their know-how, their work ethic, their education level, and so on and so forth. And you get the factors of production, and you can do all this kind of stuff. So if you look at the factors of production, places like Africa should be like booming. And then you get, Turkey is another great example. Young labor force, right? Large population, low wages, so to speak. Turkey should be booming. And it's right next to Europe. It should be booming. And it should have a plethora, a cornucopia of foreign exchange reserves. But it doesn't. Now the currency is crashing because it doesn't. But the problem is, why the heck does it not have foreign currency? So somebody is screwing it up. Because, right, even if let's say the politics, because it's usually politics, right? If the politics were simply neutral, meaning if a capitalist came in and said, hey man, I'd like to invest into your country. I want to hire a bunch of your workers. I want to put them into jobs. I'm going to make widgets and gadgets and sell them to a bunch of Germans and Dutch guys. And they're like, yeah, come in. We'd love to have the money and the capital and the resources and the investment and the education and all this kind of stuff you're going to bring with you, Mr. Capitalist. Then it starts to work. But we find people screw that up. It works on paper, but human beings get in the way and say, nah, we'd much rather be poor. And it usually works because somebody at the top is trying to protect themselves. So if they just go in and build a bunch of roads, then people are happy and they don't need the leader anymore. So it's much better to slowly build roads and slowly build them so that they're never done. You're just building them just enough to show your people like, hey, I'm a benevolent dictator. Look at me. I'm building you roads. Slowly. And they'll never get finished. But at least I'm building you roads, right? And it keeps them in place, right? Because you don't want to get rid of them because you're like, well, he's building roads. So what happens is it's like dying of 1,000 lashes, right? You never get anywhere, but it looks like something's happening. So anyways, capitalism rocks, socialism sucks, dictators suck. Got to get rid of them. The world should be a much better place. Now the problem is, and this is where socialists get all upset, well, some people are filthy, stinking rich. Well, that is true. You may call that a weakness of capitalism. Some people will have ridiculous amounts of money, but the lowest person on the totem pole will be much better off. Okay. Yeah, well, there's entire books on it, Joe, if you're interested, like how do dictators stay in power? Questions like that are pretty interesting, actually. Like, how does a dictatorship work? What is the difference between a successful dictator and one that gets overthrown? What different decisions did they make, right? And it's actually very interesting economics. Like, why would you not want a capitalist to come in and say, I want to give your people jobs, I want to build capital like factories, I want to stuff it full of capital like machines, right? And put people to work, and I want to pay taxes, and I want to have output, and then I want to expand because your low wages are going to make me more competitive than my competitors, right? So I'm going to want to expand here, but over time that'll mean I'm going to get eventually there's going to be a shortage of resources like labor, and so I'm going to have to start paying you people more. And then they pay more taxes, we pay more taxes, and they spend more money in the local economy, which means those are going to create jobs because they'll need more services and more food and more electronics, more of all this, and all that's going to need to be shipped. So now you're going to be able to tax them because all this productivity, we're going to need roads, we're going to need better communications, we're going to need a better airport, we're going to need a better seaport, we're going to need more consistent energy, and that's going to create more productivity, and then more things are going to pop up here, and boom, and they're going to have more jobs and more productivity and more taxes, and boom, boom, boom. Capitalism kicks ass. Okay? So anyways, I can't think of, there's a few books, you'll have to Google that I had to read in B school. I read so many books, man. I read so many books, I can't remember the name. There's some really good ones, though, specifically on how to run a dictatorship successfully. And it's not just violence like you're thinking. You need to invest just enough to look like you're doing something. Okay? Yep. Forex paper says China will forever make cheap junk along with fantastic stuff. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say yes to that forever. Maybe you would say because of the size of the population. But what'll happen is it'll become more domestically focused. So you notice right now the entire world is still essentially in recession or close to it, but the United States is not. We haven't been for years and years and years. So why is it that Americans are filthy, stinking rich and everybody else seems to be sucking wind, crawling out? Like, we're talking about Australia cutting interest rates. Like, really? And New Zealand? Like, what? Well, right? So what's going on? 70%. Let's do this. GDP equals, you guys remember how to do this? C, oh man, I wanted that to be red. C plus I plus G, and then import exports, okay? Okay, this is the government. Okay, the government is interesting because they say, they produce a budget and they say, we're going to spend $100 trillion. We don't have $100 trillion, so we're just going to borrow more money and we're going to spend it. It has nothing to do with where the economy is. Is it doing as good? Is it doing bad? Should we budget? How much should we save? How much? No, it's just like, no, we're going to spend this money and we're going to spend it. And that's it. And we don't really care what's going on in the economy. So now you got C, and this is consumers. And this is I, which is businesses. Okay? So you got spending. All of this is spending. Okay? This is consumption. Okay? So businesses don't go on vacation, right? They invest. They buy capital, they buy labor, right? They spend money on conferences and taxes and stuff, but they don't buy candy for it doesn't eat candy, the business in of itself, right? So it doesn't spend money on, it doesn't go on vacation, go up to the pool bar and buy a pina colada. People do, consumers do, but not businesses. So businesses invest, okay, which is good. So here's consumers. This alone, just consumers, cool. This is neat little feature. Cool. Consumers are 70% of GDP. Holy smokes. Okay? Yeah, Kevin, all the time. So Kevin says, do you ever wake up and you're not feeling motivated and scatterbrained? Well, you know, I was up till like 11 o'clock last night thinking. I think a lot, and I get tired, and I can't turn my brain off. I'm exhausted all the time. So yeah, Kevin. So I'm going to keep expanding the courses at FX Bootcamp. My problem is I'm at Harvard and doing Harvard work all the time. If I wasn't, I know what I'd be doing now, because it's made me think a little bit different in terms of what it's like for you guys to learn Forex. I'm doing other things, I'm learning other things, but it's just as difficult. And so I want to expand into things like that, like how do you keep yourself focused and motivated and strong and all that kind of stuff, outside of just charts and fundamentals. You know, I want to add to the course for stuff like that. I won't be able to do it anytime soon, but I definitely see that happening. So anyways, guys, 70% of the United States lives on itself. What I mean by that is the policeman, I'll put a star right here, a little hat. Okay, the policeman goes to Supercuts to get his head shaved. And here's the Supercuts lady. And then the Supercuts lady goes to McDonald's to eat a hamburger. That's a cooking hat at McDonald's. And this person goes somewhere, and that person goes somewhere, and they all live in the same town, and they're devouring themselves. And I have this conversation a lot with my wife until she finally looks at me like I need to shut up and quit complaining. But I'm like, what do these people do? What are they doing? Like, how are they benefiting the world? How is society getting better? How does, you know, and I get all pissy. But the thing is, this person goes to that person, it goes to that person, it goes to that person. And this is the velocity of money, actually. Okay? This is a good idea for the velocity of money, which we talked about at the FOMC event that I did, right? That the same dollar keeps passing around. And no, they're not benefiting society. And no, they're not changing the world. They're simply, the hairdresser keeps the McDonald's person alive, but the McDonald's person keeps the hairdresser alive. And the money just goes around in circles. Well, there's no quick answer, Kevin. You have to understand that. There's no quick answer. So how about this, Kevin? Change your body chemistry. So I'm going to do one on how to change your body chemistry. And I'm going to use myself as a guinea pig is what I was thinking about. I need to change internal and I haven't done that in a while. So I'm going to really have to think about the strategy for that. Maybe just do it and record the process in an idea that it'll be a course. Okay. But anyways, going back to this, guys, the United States keeps itself alive. It doesn't do much. It's productivity. It's going to get recorded in GDP. But this doesn't have anything to do with Turkey or China or Australia or Germany, right? What's going on in Sweden? These people don't even know where Sweden is. They get Sweden and Switzerland mixed up. Right? They wake up and they breathe air, and then I guess they go to a job and they do some sort of productivity, and then they go spend their money, which then goes to someone else that wakes up in the morning, breathes air, goes to some sort of job, and that just goes around in circles. Okay, they keep each other alive in a giant symbiotic relationship. And that's, if you bang that out from a small town to all of America, it keeps itself alive. Where other countries, they don't have that kind of economy, right? And that's where China would like to be, because their population is large enough, right? It's 4 times the size of the United States, but they're reliant on the United States. They're reliant on China. So China's problem right now is Europe. And Europe ain't fixing itself. Europe's got like serious, we need an entire new generation. But the problem is that ain't looking good either, right? So, yeah, it's gonna be a while, right? So China, I think China's realized that Europe is so stuck in sort of their own methodology of capitalism and democracy. It's a slow, expensive version of it, that China is just better off getting itself focused on developing a consumer economy, increasing its C. So like GDP is, right, let's do it again, C plus I plus G plus exports minus imports, right? And so China has been focused on exports. But what it should be doing is building up C, building up C and increasing consumption and not relying so much on exports, okay? And it's probably going to be easier for China to work on that than waiting around for Europe to fix its problems. Because let's just be frank. The euro got into serious trouble about 10 or 12 years ago, just the euro. Okay? Then the Eurozone almost went completely bankrupt. And I covered this. I think it was the FOMC lecture, so maybe go back and watch that one, about how, about saving Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain, and how close that got to utter collapse. So, but they didn't fix it, right? But their initial response was austerity, which again, and like, I'm going to meet Angela Merkel. I'm not joking. I'm going to meet Angela Merkel in like 3 weeks. So I'm going to ask her, like, what the hell were you thinking? Was it NFP? Okay, thanks. I'm going to ask her, like, what the hell were you thinking? How could austerity possibly fix this situation? I know you were a nuclear physicist or something before you were chancellor, but you should talk to an economist, because that was stupid. It makes no sense whatsoever. So anyways, it collapsed, that whole system. And not Draghi, was it Draghi? I guess, yeah, Draghi was he was in charge for that. Was the one that solved that problem by basically pulling all the cash out of all the banks in Greece on a weekend. And by Monday, it was settled. It took politicians 2 years and they didn't do anything. So it took Draghi 2 days by pulling the cash and freaking people out. But anyways, so long story short, right, after all that's done, and now the European economy is at least not dying, it's just sort of floating, then we decided, let's do this whole Brexit thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, come on. Right? So we're a long ways, because once we fix Brexit, which now we know is going to take 2 or 3 years, because once they even figure out what Brexit is, then we got to do Brexit. Then we got to clean up the mess. I mean, it's not going to get good soon. And then once the mess is cleaned up, then, I don't know, maybe they're socialist by then, because, who knows? Like, I don't know. It's going to be a long fix. So China should just say, you know what? You can have it, Europe. Good luck. And they're just going to focus on themselves, build up the big C, and not export things to the Europe. And Europe is going to get poor because unemployment's going to stay high. Wages are going to go up. They're not going to be able to export or import things from China because China won't care anymore. So they won't have cheap exports. Turkey's not going to give it to them. So now inflation's going to go up because everything's expensive. Why? Because wages are high. Why? Because of their form of capitalism, which is closer to socialism. And so Europe 50 years from now will probably have chronic unemployment, unbelievably high wages, unbelievably high inflation, very low productivity, right? And China's going to be filthy, stinking rich. So anyways, there you go. It's all in the history books, guys. You want to know the future? It's all in the history books. Yeah, that'd be funny. Hey, Joe? I'll say, hey, Angie. I'm going to call her Angie, see what she says. Oh, Chancellor Merkel. Come on. Inside, she's just a little girl, right? Deep down inside, she's just a girl who rules the world. She's just do. Yeah, NP, yeah, that's the other thing too, right? Ask an American about vacation time. They're like, what is that? Yeah, baby doll, of course I can do that. NP says, is that a good thing? It's not a good thing, but like if the European economy is absolutely stagnant, low productivity, is in still emergency mode as far as monetary policy, and is facing the risk of Brexit, like what the hell do you need a vacation for? Right? It's like you're on the Titanic, you've hit the iceberg, water's flowing in, the ship is listing, and you're like, coffee break! Like, hey man, you got to get these lifeboats in the water, come on. You're like, well, union rules. I got to stop for a cigarette and a coffee. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean vacation? Okay, anyways. Anything else I can cover, guys? I got to get to my paper. I did some analysis in my statistics class. I downloaded data from the United States Census Bureau. And according to the World Health Organization, 3 million deaths a year are caused by alcohol. That's 6 deaths a minute. 6 deaths every minute related to alcohol. And the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC in the United States, estimates that to be about 90,000 Americans a year die related to alcohol. That's suicides, that's liver disease, that's cancer, that's domestic abuse, drinking and driving. 90,000. So I decided could I find statistics about other effects on the household, stuff I can measure. Obviously, I can't measure all kinds of things. But I did find, so I went in with a hypothesis. Does heavy drinking affect the family's ability to be healthy, wealthy, and wise? What would your guess be? Heavy drinkers now. Heavy drinkers. Those that are considered heavy drinkers. What is the impact on households with heavy drinkers on their ability to be healthy, wealthy, and wise? Do you think it's positive or negative? So, first of all, you have to define healthy. Eats 5 servings of vegetables every day. Wealthy, household income, that's easy. And wise, IQ level. So you would assume negative, right? So when you run various statistical tests, there's no impact. There's no correlation, positive or negative. It's basically zero. But if you look a little closer, there's a slight positive. So now here's what I did using statistical analysis. I split the group now into 2 samples or 2 populations. One that is above average heavy drinking. This is heavy drinkers for heavy drinkers. And then below average heavy drinking. So now you have 2 populations, right? Heavy drinkers, not heavy drinkers. And they compare the 2. Guess what? Heavy drinkers make more money, eat more vegetables on a regular basis, so they have healthier diets, and I can prove heavy drinking does not negatively impact IQ. It's actually slightly positive, but not statistically relevant. But if you ask a different question, does heavy drinking lower your IQ? The answer is absolutely it does not. And you'll make more money, right? Like 10% more money than average, than low, right? And you eat 5 vegetables a day. You're much more likely to eat 5 vegetables every single day. 5 servings of vegetables every single day. So what does that mean? Does drinking heavy drinking make you smarter? No. Does it make you richer? No. Right? But you'll find, like, why do you eat more vegetables and stuff? Well, it's probably because you have a good job. It's a high stress job. You're making good money, but you're drinking on a regular basis because you're stressed and stuff, but you're still eating all your vegetables. It's not like you don't care about yourself. So there's no impact on IQ, but you are likely to have a healthier diet and make more money than people that don't drink as much. So it's a very interesting research paper, right? I'm not trying to make an inference. I'm just trying to show it's not necessarily what you would think. And by the way, what about obesity? I almost wrote a paper on obesity. If you're obese, you have much lower levels of education. You may not have graduated from high school. You almost certainly didn't graduate from college. Your IQ is lower. You make much less money. Now, if you're 300 pounds overweight, you might think, well, you eat a lot, so you must eat vegetables, right? You are definitely not likely to eat vegetables on a regular basis. So far, there's nothing positive, right? You make less money, you have less IQ, you don't have any education, you don't eat a healthy diet. Two things that I thought was interesting, though. Well, let's say one thing. One thing that's really interesting. Obese people are not heavy drinkers. Isn't that interesting? If you're an alcoholic, you're probably not obese. Which is strange because maybe alcoholism's tied to like depression, and we also know alcohol is likely to make you fat. But the interesting thing about it, if you are a heavy drinker, you're actually relatively active. You exercise. It's really interesting. And I showed you, if you're a heavy drinker, you actually eat 5 vegetables a day. You're fairly active, you have a fairly decent diet, you have a fairly decent job, you're fairly decently educated, you have a fairly decent IQ. So there's two things going on there. But the other thing is, get this, so you're obese, you don't drink alcohol, right? You're not a heavy alcohol drinker, but you probably smoke. So it's like bad decisions across the board. Isn't that sad? Like, you probably smoke. And if you're a heavy drinker, you probably don't smoke. It's very interesting. I don't know if it's true. I only know the statistics, right? I only have the data set because you're only as good as your data set. But anyway, so I got to write this up. I've done all the tests. I've pulled all the stats. I've done my chi-squared test for independence and found that, right? That's why I found all the different categories were independent. So I created 2 populations and tested them again against each other using one-sided and two-sided sample tests. And so it's going to be interesting. So I'm going to bang that out today. So once again, if I'm working on my Harvard stuff for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 hours today, you should be working on your Forex stuff 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 hours today. And not just trading. Don't just sit there and trade. Practice and get good. You know, actually, Homeschool Family says alcoholics are unhappy. True. Probably, right? I don't think it makes you happy. And then you say, but you can drink more but be happy. No, but I don't think that's true. Like, alcohol's a downer, right? So, see, I'm not going to say, so inferential statistics would be something like drinking will make you healthier, wealthier, and wise. I'm not saying that. And I certainly wouldn't recommend, hey, dude, you should drink more, right? But I am saying that it's surprising. So we go through life, right, knowing stuff. But it's amazing when you find out what you know is wrong. And that happens a lot. Okay? Now imagine if I applied these models to your trading. How much does yen trading affect your profits? You know, all that kind of stuff. Pesos on the move, yeah. Well, it's dollar more likely, but yeah. So I don't trade it this time of year, nor would I trade it up. So this is irrelevant to me. So anyways, yeah, Kevin, right. Drinking will make you fat. But it's interesting, if you're technically obese, you are not likely to be a heavy drinker, certainly not above average heavy drinker. So anyways, just interesting stuff. Thank you for your time. Thank you for bantering with me. Thank you for your loyalty and respect. Thank you for being a client at Trader's Way. Thank you for your good questions. I'm sorry I babbled on today. Didn't get enough sleep. I tend to babble when I don't get enough sleep. But it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful world. You're beautiful. I like the fact that we challenge ourselves, we challenge our minds, we challenge our focus. Right? Good question, right? Kevin asks, when you get out of bed and you're feeling lazy and disoriented, like when you don't have the ability to focus, what do? Well, you're going to need focus if you're going to trade, right? So those are really, that's a really good question. I might spend 3 to 6 months thinking about the answer to that, Kevin, and then document it because it's such a great question. And I'm actually kind of working on it. I didn't ask myself that question, but it's relevant to the questions that I'm asking because I do want to make some changes in my own life. And as traders, we probably run into the same problems, right? How do you deal with your spouse or your children when you're a trader? It's a very difficult thing, and I've done it, but I haven't documented it, nor have I shared it. But like, how do you prepare your wife and children for you to bring your laptop to Disneyland and at 6 a.m. lock yourself in a closet with your laptop so that you can trade your have your charts open and trade while they sleep or they get ready? They're showering, they're putting their clothes on, they're eating breakfast, and they're like, we're going to Disneyland. Where's Dad? Oh, Dad, he's in the bedroom closet with his laptop so he could have a quiet space to focus on his charts. My wife and children are used to that. That's what I do. Now, see, the bathroom's a busy place. So this is not a joke. So like, my wife and children are used to that. They know it. They expect it. Oh, Dad's just locked in the closet or whatever needs to be done. Because I take my laptop and I trade. On my honeymoon in Maui, I'm sitting by the swimming pool in Ritz-Carlton. I made a trade and paid for like drinks and food for like, I made a scalp. I'm like, I looked at the tab. I got a tab. I forget what it was, but it's like, like no joke. One time at the Ritz-Carlton, we were at the pool for most of the day, not the evening. Just we got there almost lunchtime, just laid around the pool, had cocktails, and I remember I had a salad, eating really light. It was like a $900 bill. So I remember a honeymoon was something like that. I get this bill, and I'm like, holy shit. So I open up my phone. This is back when trading on your phone was super advanced. And I remember I made a trade 30 minutes later, paid for the bill. Like, oh, you need how much? How much you need? $900? Come on, give me 30 minutes. Beep, 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 beep. Press all the right buttons. Not a problem. Put it on my tab. So anyways, how do you be a trader is a big thing, right? When you're talking about your loved ones, your spouse, your children, your positive friends, your negative friends, all that kind of stuff. How do you deal with all that? And I thought that would be an interesting thing to discuss. How do you keep yourself sharp? How do you keep yourself disciplined? How do you keep yourself focused? How do you keep yourself interested? And I've shared examples of, I'm sitting out on the back deck on a Sunday reading central bank reports and smoking a cigar. And what am I doing? I'm training myself. If I like cigars and coffee and warm sunshine on my face, I'm now associating reading central bank reports with things that I like. You see what I mean? So now I like reading central banking reports. Now, the problem with this Pavlov sort of thing is now when I read central bank reports, I have to have a cigar. And my wife's like, why are you smoking a cigar? I'm like, I don't know, actually. Like, I'm not joking. Like, if I'm writing a paper, I'm like, oh my God, I got to write a paper. Now I can't write papers without smoking a cigar. So now that's a problem, right? I'm not addicted to cigars. I'm addicted to having cigars to do that. So anyways, maybe it's all related. But, those are really big questions, Kevin. And I do want to answer that, like, very seriously. There's something about how do you trade Forex successfully? That's one question. But then the bigger question is how do you be a successful Forex trader? And that's a different question, right? So I thought in the next year or two, I would try to address that by using myself as a guinea pig. Well, the changing the chemistry thing, yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. There's more than just the thought. Let's say you say to yourself, I want to be disciplined. Okay, there's the thought. Okay, now you're disciplined, right? But we know that that's not true. But what is the thought that makes you disciplined, right? Well, what is a thought? What is a thought? It's chemistry. It's electrical chemical energy. So it's chemistry. So if you're going to make a physical action, you have to have the proper chemistry. And so I do want to make some changes in my life. I feel good as a student. I feel good as a trader. There's lots of good. Like, I'm not upset with those things. But I do want to be healthier. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father. And there's something about thinking it is not good enough. It's a start, but it's not good enough. So I will have to make chemical changes first before I can make physical changes. And I don't mean like a detox and stuff, but there will have to be something that needs to change. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but you see what I mean? So I don't mean pop some pills or something. I mean change the electrical chemical in my brain. Okay? So that might be too philosophical, but trust me, I think we all know there's something more than just the thought. If I said, how many of you are entrepreneurs, you'll raise your hand. How many people have had an amazing idea but didn't do it? Right? Lots of people raise their hand. Like, why didn't you get paid $1 million for that amazing idea? Oh, I didn't do it. So your idea is worth zero. So part of it's goals, right, Mike? So, I've been doing a lot of very interesting things for a very, very long time. You'd be surprised at the level of ridiculousness that I've put myself through over the last 30 years. But imagine what you were like when you were 20. When I was 20, I ran a company of 3,000 people. So I was ridiculous at a very young age, right? Some people are just partying and drinking and doing drugs and being self-absorbed. I was running a company of 3,000 people. I slept every other day for 4 hours when I was 20. Why do you think? Anyways, so how do you consistently be the best? How have I consistently been driven and successful from a very young age? And the question is, well, part of it is failing along the way. And what did I learn? What did I learn from sleeping 4 hours a day every other day? Is it a good thing? No. It helped me be successful. So I think it'd be interesting to ask myself some of these questions. So back in 1999, I did an emotional intelligence project with myself, and I included my mother, actually. And this is before you probably even heard of emotional intelligence, if you've heard of emotional intelligence, IE versus IQ, and all that kind of stuff. And these processes might be very interesting to a trader now, where I did them for myself back then. So having goals and stuff, but that's people use goal setting incorrectly, the same way that people use trade journaling incorrectly. Okay? Right? So there should be a process behind it. Keeping a trade journal will not make you a better trader. Now, I wrote basically a whole book on how to keep a trade journal. That will make you a success. I know it. Okay. Yeah. And meditation. So I've been meditating for 20 years. All right. So how do I use that to be a better trader? I should probably document that and stuff, right? So there's a lot that can be done going all the way back to Kevin's question. How do you stay sharp and stay focused and motivated when you wake up and you don't want to be? That's probably a whole book. So yeah, I might want to do that. But here's the interesting thing. It made me successful way before Forex. And it probably helped me in Forex. So it's not a trading book. It's like Wayne's guide to achieving your destiny. I don't care about success in the same way that you might care about success, right? You might be money driven, you might be power driven, all that kind of stuff. But it's not success, because I don't even like the word success. Success means you're done in many ways. Like you achieved it, you're done, you walk away. Destiny ends when you die. And someone says at your funeral, that guy was super successful. And they might have 9 different ways of describing what that success is. So to me, it's more like fulfilling your destiny, changing the world. Like I'm going to ask Angie, I'm like, okay, Angie, you're a mother, you're a wife, probably a grandmother, you were a nuclear physicist. That might have been good enough for a lot of people. But then you went on to be the de facto leader of all of Europe for a very, very long time through multiple U.S. presidential White Houses, right? When are you going to do something huge? You're only 75, Angie. What's next? Let's do something big. Right? You ain't dead yet, Angie. So what's the next one? Why don't you work with Elon Musk and be the first chancellor to go to Mars? Let's get serious. Okay. So anyways, interesting, right? So thank you for your time. Thank you for your interaction with me, all that kind of stuff. As you can tell, I'm quite tired, but that's how it goes. Pick yourself up, jump into it with 100%, do your best. So peace on earth. May the pips be with you. May our profits be above average. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you. You understand? Thank you for being in my life. You make my life a better place. You keep me interested and focused. Maybe that's part of the answer. Hey, Kevin, when I do wake up tired and unmotivated and unfocused, you get my ass out of bed. I'm like, I have to do the webinar. I want to sleep in, but I can't. So I get up, I jump in the shower, drink energy drinks, I meditate, I wake up, and I'm like Mike Tyson walking to the ring. And as I get closer to the ring, and once I get into the ring, I'm ready. I'm ready to fight. So thank you for being an inspiration and a catalyst for greatness. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. See you tomorrow, guys. Bring more questions and we'll get more covered. I promise you. Remember, there's 4,000 videos on YouTube associated with my work in trading and strategies. Time to get going. Jump in. See you tomorrow.